There is something I want you to think about today, something most people never consider, never examine, and never question. And because they never question it, it quietly costs them more than they will ever know. It costs them their dreams. It costs them their peace. It costs them the very life they are trying to build. And the tragedy is that it happens not because of laziness, not because of ignorance, not because of a lack of talent or ability. It happens because of one simple habit, one deeply human tendency that almost all of us carry, the habit of telling people what we are going to do before we do it. Now, I know that may sound strange at first. You may be sitting there thinking, what is wrong with telling people my plans? What is wrong with sharing my goals? What is wrong with letting the people in my life know what I am working on, what I am dreaming about, what I am moving toward? And that is a fair question. That is an honest question. But here's what most people do not understand. The moment you speak your dream out loud before you have built it, before you have proven it, before you have earned the right to announce it, something shifts. Something quiet and invisible shifts inside of you. And by the time you realize what has happened, the fire is already beginning to die. Let me tell you something I learned a long time ago, and it took me years to fully understand it. I learned it not from a book. I learned it from watching people. From watching the ones who succeeded and the ones who did not. From sitting in rooms with men and women of extraordinary ability who somehow never arrived at the destination they had described to everyone around them. And I kept asking myself, why? Why does this keep happening? Why do brilliant people with genuine desire and real talent end up falling short of the very thing they talked about the most? The answer, my friend, is quieter than you think. It lives in the gap between the talking and the doing. And most people spend their entire lives filling that gap with more talking. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever been so excited about something that you could not wait to tell someone about it? You had an idea, a plan, a dream, a decision. Your heart was racing. Your mind was alive. You could feel the possibility of it. And the first thing you wanted to do, almost instinctively, was pick up the phone, call a friend, tell your family, post it somewhere, announce it to the world. Have you felt that? Most of us have. I certainly have. And here is what I want you to understand about that moment. That feeling, that electricity you feel, that excitement building inside you, that is energy. That is real and powerful human energy. And what you choose to do with that energy in the next few moments determines everything. When you tell someone your plan before you have executed it, your brain does something very interesting, something that feels like a reward but is actually a trap. Your brain begins to treat the telling as if it were the doing. The social acknowledgement you receive, the nods, the encouragement, the smiles, the words of support, your brain registers all of that as a form of completion. It begins to feel deep in that subconscious layer beneath your awareness, as if progress has already been made, as if the work has already begun. And so the urgency fades, the hunger softens. The fire that was burning so brightly just moments before is now just a little smaller, a little quieter, not extinguished, but dimmed. And a dimmed fire, my friend, rarely builds anything great. There is a lesson in this that I want you to carry with you. The lesson is this. Most people confuse the announcement for the achievement. They believe that sharing their vision is the same as pursuing it. They believe that telling the world what they are going to do gives them credibility, gives them accountability, gives them momentum, but in many cases it does the opposite. It steals the very fuel that the dream needs to survive. Now let me be careful here, because I am not saying never share your life. I am not saying become a closed and secretive person who trusts no one and speaks to no one. That is not the lesson. The lesson is deeper than that and far more practical. The lesson is about timing. The lesson is about protection. The lesson is about understanding what your dream needs in its earliest, most fragile stage. And what it needs in that stage is not applause. What it needs is work. Think about a seed, a tiny seed planted in the ground. What does that seed need in order to grow? It needs darkness. It needs quiet. It needs time beneath the surface before it ever pushes through into the light. And if you dig it up too early to show people, to announce that you have planted something, to prove to the world that you are a gardener, you kill it. You interrupt the very process that was about to produce something extraordinary. Your dreams are no different. I have sat with many people over the years, wealthy people, struggling people, young people, old people, and I have noticed a pattern that is so consistent it almost frightens me. The people who talk the most about what they are going to do are very often the people who do the least. And the people who say almost nothing, who work quietly in the background, who you hardly hear from until one day they show up transformed, those are the ones who build something real. They let their results speak. They let their life be the announcement. They understand that the greatest statement a person can make is not what they say, it is what they become. Now you may be asking, why does it matter what other people think? Why should someone else's reaction to my plans affect my own motivation? And that is a powerful question. It speaks to something deep. The truth is that it matters because we are human. We are social creatures. We are wired for connection, for approval, for belonging. There is nothing wrong with that. But when we give other people the power to validate our dreams before we have built them, we hand them a dangerous weapon. Because not everyone around you has clean hands and a pure heart when it comes to your potential. Let me tell you something about the people who surround you. Not all of them, but some of them. The moment you tell them your dream will begin quietly, almost unconsciously, to pour doubt on it. Not because they are evil, not because they want to see you fail, but because your dream makes them uncomfortable. Because your ambition reminds them of what they gave up. Because the possibility that you might actually do this extraordinary thing they never dared to attempt makes them feel something they do not want to feel. And so they will say things, reasonable things, practical things, things that sound like concern but carry the weight of limitation. And if your dream is still young and tender and unproven, those words have power, real power, power that you did not give them. You handed it to them yourself the moment you opened your mouth too soon. Here's what most people do not understand about protection. Protection is not weakness. Protection is wisdom. When a mother keeps her newborn child close, sheltered from cold wind and harsh light, she is not hiding the child. She is protecting what she loves until it is strong enough to face the world. Your dream deserves the same. In its earliest hours, in those fragile first days when it is nothing more than a burning desire in your chest and a plan in your mind, your dream needs to be kept close, fed, nurtured, worked on, not displayed. Think about it. The most magnificent buildings in the world, before they stood tall against the sky, were wrapped in scaffolding, covered in tarpaulins, hidden from view. Nobody saw them until the work was done, until the structure could speak for itself, until the beauty could stand on its own without explanation. You are building something. Give it the same respect. Now I want to speak to you about something even deeper here, something that goes beyond strategy and psychology, something that touches the soul of why this principle matters so profoundly. The moment you realize this, it will change the way you move through the world. The moment you realize this, you will never again need the approval of another person to pursue what you know is meant for you. Here it is. When you constantly tell people what you are going to do, you are not seeking accountability. You are seeking permission. You are perhaps, without knowing it, looking for someone to say, yes, you can do this. You are worthy of this. This is allowed for someone like you. And my friend, let me tell you something with all the conviction I carry. You do not need anyone's permission. You never did. The dream was given to you. The desire was placed inside of you. The capacity to pursue it lives within you already. And the moment you start seeking permission from people who never had the authority to grant it, you have already begun to shrink. There is a beautiful thing that happens when you stop announcing and start executing. A quiet confidence begins to grow inside you. A confidence that is not fed by the applause of others, but by your own daily discipline, by your own private victories, by the small and consistent actions that nobody sees, but that compound over time into something undeniable. That kind of confidence is unshakable because it is not built on what others think of you. It is built on what you know about yourself. And nobody, my friend, can take that from you. Let me tell you about a man I once knew, a quiet man. A man who did not say much in social gatherings, who never posted about his goals or announced his intentions at the dinner table. People around him thought he was ordinary, unambitious, maybe even a little dull, because he never talked about big plans. He never spoke about where he was going. He just worked quietly, consistently, year after year. And one day, people woke up and realized that this quiet man had built something remarkable. He had built it in the silence that others mistook for emptiness. He had built it in the hours others spent talking about what they were going to do. He had let his life become the speech. He had let his results do the announcing. And when people finally saw what he had built, there was nothing left to say. The evidence was too powerful. The achievement was too real. The work had spoken. And it had spoken in a language that no amount of conversation could ever match. I have seen this play out in so many lives. I have watched people stand in front of rooms and declare with great passion what they were going to build, what they were going to become, what they were going to achieve. The applause was real. The excitement was genuine. The intention was sincere. And yet 5 years later, 10 years later, the declaration was all there was. The announcement had become the monument. The speech had become the substitute for the work. And somewhere along the way, the dream had quietly given up waiting and moved on. You cannot let that happen to you. You are too valuable. Your time is too precious. Your potential is too significant to be consumed by the performance of ambition rather than the pursuit of it. The world does not need another great announcement. The world needs another great builder. That is the life I want for you. Not the life of the loud dreamer who performs ambition for an audience but struggles to find it when the audience is gone. But the life of the quiet builder, the consistent worker, the person who is so committed to what they are creating that they do not need the world to know about it yet. They will know when it is done. They will know when it is real. They will know when it is finished. And when that day comes, there will be no need for explanation. There will be no need for convincing, because the work will speak so loudly that nothing else needs to be said. Here is something else I want you to consider. When you talk about what you are going to do before you do it, you also create a debt, an invisible debt to the people who heard you. And that debt can become very heavy, because now every time you see those people, every time you walk into a room, you are carrying the weight of the promise you made. And if life gets difficult, if the plan changes, if the path becomes longer or harder than you expected, that weight turns into shame. And shame is one of the cruelest enemies of progress. It does not push you forward. It paralyzes you. It makes you want to hide, to give up, to find some way to explain why you have not yet become what you declared you would become. And all of that energy, all of that emotional weight could have been avoided simply by choosing to work first and speak second. One day you will look back and understand that the greatest gift you ever gave yourself was the gift of silence in the season of building, the gift of protecting your own fire, the gift of refusing to trade your future for the momentary feeling of being seen, being heard, being encouraged before the work was done. Now I am not telling you to live in isolation. I am not telling you to shut everyone out. There is great value in having one or two trusted people in your life, a mentor, a partner, someone with a proven track record of wisdom and loyalty, someone who has earned the right to know your plans by the quality of their counsel and the purity of their support. Share with that person, grow with that person, learn from that person, but be very careful about broadcasting your deepest ambitions to crowds who have no investment in your success. Because a crowd will cheer for you today and forget you by tomorrow. And their cheering, however warm it feels, was never going to carry the stones that build your life. The work does that. The daily discipline does that. The choices you make when no one is watching do that. The hours you spend in quiet pursuit of something that matters do that. Those are the bricks, and every day you lay them, whether the world sees or not, you are building, you are growing, you are becoming. Let me tell you something about becoming. It is the most underrated word in the language of success. Everyone wants to have, everyone wants to achieve, everyone wants to arrive. But the people who actually get there understand something the others miss. They understand that the having is a result of the becoming. That before you can hold the life you want in your hands, you must first grow into the person who can sustain it. And that growing, that becoming, it happens in private. It happens in the hours no one sees. It happens in the battles you fight with your own resistance. In the moments you choose discipline over comfort, clarity over confusion, patience over panic. Nobody needs to witness that process. In fact, the fewer people watching, the more free you are to struggle, to stumble, to rise again without the added pressure of an audience. Give yourself the freedom of a private transformation. Give yourself the room to become without performing the becoming for others. Because when the transformation is complete, when the work is done, when the life you built is standing in full view, the story of how you got there will be far more powerful, far more instructive, far more inspiring than any announcement you could have made along the way. I want to speak to something here that most people overlook entirely. There is a discipline in silence that is just as important as any other discipline you will ever practice. In fact, I would argue it is one of the rarest and most powerful disciplines a person can develop. Because it is easy to stay quiet when there is nothing to say. That requires no strength at all. But to hold something magnificent inside of you, to feel the excitement and the fire and the vision burning so brightly that you want to shout it from the highest place you can find, and then to choose stillness instead, to choose the work instead, to turn that burning energy inward and let it fuel your actions rather than your words. That is discipline of the highest order. And those who master it, those who learn to direct their energy into execution rather than explanation, they are the ones who build the lives that others spend their whole existence talking about. Think about the greatest craftsman who ever lived, the sculptor who spent years alone in a studio, stone dust in his hair, hands raw and calloused, speaking to no one about what he was creating. He had no interest in describing the statue before it was finished. He knew that the description would never capture it, that words were a poverty compared to the real thing, that the only way for anyone to truly understand what he was building was for him to build it completely and perfectly and then simply step aside and let it be seen. And when the cloth was finally pulled back and the work was revealed, there was silence first, a long and sacred silence, because the work was so undeniable that it demanded a moment of reckoning. That is what real achievement sounds like. Not a declaration, not an announcement, a silence that is louder than any word ever spoken. There is a reason the most powerful testimonies come at the end, not the beginning. There is a reason we are moved by the story of someone who suffered, persisted, and prevailed. Not because the suffering was noble, not because the struggle was beautiful, but because the outcome was real, because the evidence was undeniable, because the person standing before us had earned the right to speak through everything they had done in the quiet years when no one was watching. That can be your story. It must be your story. Not a story performed for others, chapter by chapter, announcement by announcement, before the book is finished, but a story lived privately, built faithfully, and revealed in full when the work has spoken for itself. My friend, I want to leave you with this. You are not required to explain yourself to the world. You are not required to prove your ambitions before they are realized. You are not required to justify your dream to people who have not earned the right to hear it. What you are required to do, the only true requirement, the only real obligation you carry, is to honor the gift that is inside you. The gift of desire, the gift of vision, the gift of capacity, to honor it not with words but with work, not with announcements but with action, not with performance but with persistence. The world will see it when it is ready. The world will know it when it is real. The world will feel the weight of what you have built when it is standing complete and undeniable before their eyes. And in that moment, every quiet hour you invested, every sacrifice you made without applause, every step you took when no one was watching, all of it will make perfect and absolute sense. Not just to them, to you, especially to you. So work in silence. Let your success make the noise. Let your life be the speech. Let your results be the announcement. And when the day comes, and it will come, when what you have built stands tall and real and magnificent, look back at all those quiet years with gratitude. Because in those silent seasons, in those unseen hours, in those private battles where only you knew what you were building and why, that is where the real you was forged. That is where the person you were always meant to be was born. Do not tell the world what you are going to do. Go do it. And then, only then, let it be known. Not because you need them to see it, but because what you have become will be impossible to miss. Go build something worthy of the silence you kept. The world is waiting. And so is the best version of you. Honor that version, serve that version, become that version, starting today, starting right now, in silence, in faith, and in relentless and dignified work.